into people saying, well, you know who this is. Anyone who was in the, what we can loosely call the music game in the late 70s, early 80s, will know who we're about to meet. But here's the thing. It was a very tumultuous time, especially in the late 70s. Tumultuous is the word. And there's, for instance, something like Stiff Records, which had your Elvis Costellos, your Damned, your Durys, and Nick Lowe and the gang over there. And they were a pretty rowdy bunch. And even the Feel-Goods and people like this all knocking around before the Pistols and the Clash and all that came in and dominated it. And they were, you know, it was a pretty energetic salon. But there was one fella who everyone used to say, well, I know he's in the group and I know who they are. Who's that? Because there would be somebody dominating the room as a ringmaster for the entire period. And that will be Kosmo Vinyl. My friend Kosmo Vinyl, perhaps best known for working with the Clash and Dury, but it's not quite clear what you actually did. You seem to chaperone, MC, ringleader. Kosmo, you're back in London. I know you live in New York now. Good morning. What did you actually do? What was your job?
Well, first of all, Dan, I just want to say it's great to see you.
It is
really
terrific.
Great to be here. It's been, what, 30 years?
30 years. And as I say, the thing is, this is not just two old friends meeting. A force of nature, and perhaps one of the great untold stories of that entire period is Mr. Kosmo Vinyl.
Well, I think the main thing I did was make sure that nobody knew exactly what it was I did. And that way you can't get the tin tack, can you?
For example, you used to organise events and organise people and put them together, and I can't overestimate how much of a force you were in the whole music scene in the late 70s without actually knowing what Kosmo did.
Well, at Stiff Records, somebody asked me, what did you do at Stiff Records? And I said, well, at Stiff, I think you could say the title was Chief Winder-Upper.
Yes, there's that. You were on the wages, you did stuff.
Ian Dury referred to me as the Fromage de Pompadour.
Yeah, you were. Now, Dury is who I associate you with the most because you was very, very close to Ian.
Very close.
There was yourself and a fellow called Spider Row that Ian never made a move without. How did you, for instance, fall in with Ian?
Well, I had been a fan of Ian's. Ian was in this rather obscure pub rock group, or he'd hate me for saying pub rock group, but that's what they were. And Kilburn and the High Roads.
Yeah.
And when I was a young lad, I used to go and see them. And they were a very unsuccessful group, but very interesting. And
yeah.
So I was kind of a fan. And then when word came out at Stiff that Ian's going to make a record, I was like, well, I've got to be in there. As soon as I spot him, I'm going to blag him. And cut a long story short, I offered him a deal by which for £50 a week I would make him a household name.
Really? You were the actual mover and shaker behind that? You actually came in on that?
Well, he'd already made the record New Boots and Panties.
Had he? Oh, I thought you were before that. Okay.
No, he'd made the record, but it wasn't out.
All right.
And so I befriended him on Alexander Street,
yeah.
You know, the Stiff Records. But I'd seen him before, and obviously it became very obvious that, you know, I knew what was going on with regard to him. And, you know, I just had total belief from before Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll came out that this geezer could do it.
Yeah. And as I say, I knew you as factotum or whatever it is, manager, but you used to clear the decks, make sure everything was all right for him, pick him up when he fell. That was a duty that both you and Fred Rowe had.
Well, if you don't pick Ian up when he falls over, it takes him a really long time to get up.
Yes.
So then suddenly, like, everyone's like, well, where's Ian?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, he's still trying to get up.
Yes, it was. You'd fall over.
You know, which was, me or Fred, who was his upstairs neighbour.
Yes.
From they lived in a place by the Oval, which I think the correct reference would be Cat, whatever, Mansions.
Yes, it is. Yes, it was over by there.
Yes.
Now,
think Litterbox.
Here's the thing. People say, well, OK, is this fellow just working behind the scenes? But you were very much a front man always. I don't know how you didn't become a star yourself. Did anyone ever say, you should be on stage, you should make a record? Did that ever
Yes, that happened a few times in the early days. That happened quite a bit.
And you didn't?
No. You have to make the decision very early on whether you're going to be in front of the counter or behind the counter.
Well, as I say, people, hopefully by the end of our discussion, will know more what you did. Something like when I was at the NME, and I'll let you tell the story, and the album Do It Yourself by Ian was coming out, and there was this idea, I know how we can get the music press's attention. Do you remember the stunts you did, certainly at the NME, I think at 2 or 3 of the other offices?
Oh, you mean the wallpaper?
The wallpaper. Now,
yes, well...
OK, go on.
Ian decided he was going to call the record Do It Yourself.
Yeah.
So, it was right. And then we came up with this concept that we'd have various album covers and there'd be different patterns of wallpaper.
All ugly.
All chosen by Ian and the late great designer Barney Bubbles. And were they having fun? Oh, we've got to stick that one on them.
Have the ugliest album covers you can imagine.
Anyway, so I thought, right, thinking promotion, because that was my department for Ian. Press, promotion, take care of all that. And so I hired the world's fastest wallpaperer. There was such a man.
Yes, there was.
And he was very fast.
How fast?
He could do this, your studio, I don't know, about 10, 12 minutes.
Yes, he could. He was very, very fast. And do it to
Before 60-minute makeover.
Before 60-minute makeover, he was a lightning fast wallpaper man. So
we needed a crew, so I got a bunch of reprobates together and I dressed them up as sailors. Seemed like a good idea at the time. So Cosmo's Commandos, we called them. There was about 8 of them, and they all carried all the stuff. And we burst into the enemy and crash, bang, wallop.
You wallpapered one of our walls.
Absolutely.
Now, I've got to tell you, the enemy was a pretty chic salon. It was a ramshackle pirate ship. But what we didn't want was one of our walls done up like it was a nan's bedroom.
Granny's front room.
Exactly. And by the time you left 2 minutes later, and you stood in front of him going, pay no attention, new album out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so is this kind of, and I remember you left...
well, can I say, also as a little, how classy you were at the enemy, you did take it in the spirit with which it was intended, you know, to get your attention. But across town at the Melody Maker, they used to have their office in a little Nissan hut.
Yes, they did.
And the gates was locked, and so I couldn't get in there. So we jumped the fence, and I couldn't get in the building, and so I wallpapered all their windows. And they was not amused. I forget who the editor was, but it didn't go down well at all.
Well, that says everything you need to know about the Melody Maker. Now, on top of this, and we'll move on with the story, because Kosmo then went on to virtually manage the Clash in their absolute glory period. Another thing that... if you go onto YouTube, you can find the film The King of Comedy. Martin Scorsese's The King of Comedy, the whole film. Just have a look. Go to 03030, and there's a beautiful freeze frame. Yeah, I know, I looked it up in the week. 03030, and then there's this, in the credits at the end, says Street Scum. That's you. How come you turned up in a Martin Scorsese film?
Well, Martin and I, at one point, were very good friends. We became really good friends.
How? See, this is the thing with you, Cosmo. You seem to have gone through everything. How?
Well, at some point, if this is an indication of my character, especially at the time, I kind of decided that I should be friends with Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro. It seemed like a good idea, you know.
Sounds like not a bad idea.
I thought, well, you know, they make the films I like.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think I should get to know these blokes. And so, I think I phoned somebody up and said, I'm coming over and I need to talk to Martin. And somehow I got it arranged. Right. And when I met him, I was like, how's it going? And he said, you know, it's going great. And I said, Mean Streets. It's Brighton Rock, right? He said, absolutely.
Okay.
Muckers.
And then he just said, be in my film.
Well, no, then we became fairly good friends. I got on very well with his mum and dad, because... Very well. And, I have had Martin Scorsese's mum's home cooking.
Whoa.
Fantastic
and just to
pasta.
underline, you know, without you, there's certainly some of the joie de vivre, that entire period wouldn't be there. We're still no clearer to find out exactly... did you have jobs before you was in the music game? What did you... See, we know each other during that period, but nobody was that bothered about who are you, where'd you come from. That's what punk rock was like. But where do you come from, and what did you do before it?
I did building work. I did some building work, some just markets, you know, just various bits and pieces.
But you always wanted to be in the music game.
But yeah, I think one of the things you, I, and a lot of people from that time that got involved in the music business we were fanatics about music, absolute fanatics. Yeah. And so that's all I wanted to do. So it was just a matter of trying to find a way to get in.
We'll get to one or two more of the anecdotes in a second. Cosmo these days lives in New York, and he's an artist who has a football side to the art as well, so we'll get to the reason Cos is good enough to be in this morning. But let's hear a bit of you at work. Can we play Madison Square? Is this Madison Square Garden? Oh, we're going to do it after the travel. You may have heard Cos's voice on some of the Clash live stuff, because, as I say, ringmaster and MC. And when we come back after the travel, we'll play you a little bit of some of the vinyl that Cosmo put his name to. So after the travel, we'll be back with more tales of the rock and roll past. We're right back.
In Cambridgeshire at Ely, the A10 Cambridge Road is blocked in